Hello, everyone, and welcome to the latest episode of Isolation Interviews. My next guest is an award-winning stand-up, a regular on radio and TV panel shows, and now the host of her own BBC game show. I'm delighted that she's taken time out to join me today, so let's give a massive Outnews Global welcome to the legend, that is Zoe Lyons. Hello, Zoe.
Hello, Rob. How you doing?
Well, yeah, I mean, I'm doing okay. And where are you joining us from today? I'm guessing you've been partying with all the Instagram Love Island influencers in Dubai.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's me all over.
Yeah.
No, I'm very much in the how would you describe it? The Dubai of the United Kingdom at the moment, which is Brighton seafront.
Fabulous.
So
Yeah.
yeah, and it is a beautiful day today. I've just realised how important and wonderful sunshine is because it's made an appearance today. And I went outside for a walk earlier and went, oh, that is so much better.
It is. Yeah, I mean, it does lift the spirits, doesn't it?
Oh, goodness.
Now, so with startling unoriginality, you're going to get the same question that everybody else gets. How has lockdown been for you?
It has been, well, let's be honest, it's been very tricky in places. It's been very, very tricky in places. And this one, lockdown 3, I think, has probably been the hardest so far because we have been living through the sort of winter months and it is tricky. I find the best way to go is day by day, if not minute by minute. Some days you've got to go minute by minute.
Yeah.
If you take too big a chunk, it's like trying to eat an elephant, which the vegans won't enjoy, but it's too much. If you take it little by little, you can just about manage.
Yeah.
And because I am on Brighton seafront, and I am incredibly lucky, I've been sea swimming.
Wow.
And that's got me through.
Fantastic.
I think, yeah, the cold water shock has got me through. Yeah.
But funny enough, I was speaking to a friend of mine yesterday who some years ago spent some time at Her Majesty's Pleasure, but in a very, very low category prison, category
Right.
D. And he was saying that this lockdown is like being in a category D prison, but without the
Yeah.
sex in the showers. So
Yes, I've thought about that at times. Like this is where you'd go for sort of low end fraud or something like that.
yeah,
Some
or
sort
at
of
the end of a
business fraud.
sentence, just to ease you back into normal society, they'll give you the last month or 6 weeks.
Yeah,
You've been on the comedy circuit for, and I don't want to out your age, but hey,
nearly 20 years.
yeah, best part of 2 decades. And you
Yeah.
hear about the comedy circuit being very straight and very male. Now, I suppose that because now you've achieved a certain level of success, people are sort of courteous and more deferential to you. But what was it like starting out as a gay woman?
Um, yeah, I mean, gosh, I think things had improved by the time I started out. I often think of people like Joe Brand starting out as a woman, a straight woman even on the circuit before me, and it must have been so much harder. That 10 years, 15 years prior to me. By the time I started doing it, um, people had got round to the idea of acknowledging that women could speak too on stage.
Yeah, no, who knew?
I know, but that is not to say that I didn't come across some just amazingly fabulous bigotry. I mean, just astonishing. I never used to talk about, I didn't initially talk about my sexuality on stage because it was actually almost too much for people to realise that it was a woman on stage,
Yeah.
And I, on early days, often performed to a front row of blokes who just fold their arms or get up and go to the loo or, talk through me or, make it very well, make it very evident that they weren't prepared to take in what was in front of them.
Yeah.
It's startling, and it has improved an awful lot. I mean, it's changed completely now. It really, really has.
Which is good. Now, my army of researchers, which during lockdown is me and Google, tells me that you're half Irish, you're half English, that you were born in Wales and then subsequently have lived in Ireland, Scotland, and England.
Yes.
So, if anything else, you are a fantastic advert for the United Kingdom.
Yes, pretty much got it covered.
Do you think that those sort of peripatetic formative years informed your stand-up?
Yes, I do think so. I think if you meet most stand-ups will sort of describe themselves as outsiders. Mostly, it's a weird thing to do as a living. It's a very strange thing to
Yeah,
do,
yeah,
and most would openly describe themselves as slight oddballs, and that comes as a result of mostly not fitting in during formative years, and that was exactly my case because. We moved around quite a lot. My accent was always one country behind where I actually was,
yeah,
So
yeah.
by the time I moved to England, I had an Irish accent. By the time we moved to Scotland, I had an English accent. So it was just constantly catching up. So I think it's very much shaped me as a person and shaped me as a comedian.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
So people, I wanted to ask you a little bit about comedy and the pandemic, which are not two words that often go together. But, people find humour in the unlikeliest of places. I mean, you think of
yeah,
Mel Brooks and the Nazis. Of course, he's
yeah,
taking the
yeah,
piss out of the Nazis.
yeah.
Is there comedy to be found in the pandemic, or do you think it needs a kind of a bit of a time lag, or is it kind of best left alone, do you think?
No, I think there's definitely comedy to be found during this time, and I've been doing some Zoom gigs,
Yeah.
which are odd, And if this time last year, if you'd said to me you'd be performing online down your own camera to people watching at home, I'd have gone, that will never work. But it's incredible how adaptable performers are and how accepting audiences are because they
Yeah,
really
yeah,
do want to laugh at the moment. And what I'm finding is, more than ever, people want to have a laugh. And you can absolutely laugh about this current situation because parts of it, the horror of it aside, are ridiculous.
yeah,
And we're all experiencing it. In fact, probably for the first time in a long, long time, uh, recognition is absolute because we're all living the same
yeah,
experience.
yeah,
So
yeah, yeah.
everybody can relate to that. It's like, oh, I can relate to that. No, very few people are going, what? I haven't heard about that. It's all extremely relatable.
Yeah.
Um, I've been lucky enough to do some gigs for some shows on Radio 4, and they've now set it up so that people can join in, part of the audience from home,
Oh,
and
really?
they'll have maybe 1,000 people listening,
Oh, that's
and
fabulous.
we can hear them laughing.
Yeah, yeah,
And the first time they did that, I was almost overwhelmed with emotion because it was the first time I'd heard a big group of people laughing for many, many months, and it was really moving, really
yeah.
moving.
I mean,
Yeah,
the current season of Would I Lie to You, I think, is all being done on Zoom. Um,
yeah,
and, as an audience, as a listener, it seems to work okay. I suppose you don't get that to and fro with an audience, which must be difficult.
yeah.
But,
That is, yeah, yeah,
so your new game show, Lightning, it's on every evening at 6:30 p.m. and also on iPlayer, folks. I actually tuned in last night and I loved it. And it looks like you're having a ball.
yes.
A, are you having as much fun as it looks? And also, do you get to keep the sparkly suit?
Well, I mean, yes, I was having as much fun as it looked. The contestants were brilliant. I think also because we made it during COVID restrictions, we all adhered to COVID that were in
Yeah,
place
yeah,
at the time. We made it in Northern Ireland in August. Um, so the amount of effort and work the production team had to go through to make it happen
yeah, yeah,
we were so relieved and happy to be able to do it. So yes, we were having a great time,
yeah, yeah.
and yes, I did get to keep the sparkly suit. I had two of them, so I didn't stink.
I
So yeah, I'm half tempted to wear them around the house.
I
Um,
think so.
I think that's entirely acceptable.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Entirely
yeah.
acceptable. Yeah,
So what I love about the show is you've got eliminated contestants. Well, actually, two. First of all, I didn't know anything about it when I tuned in last night, knowing I was meeting you today. So I didn't really
yeah,
know the format. And then all of a sudden, halfway through, it goes all Krypton Factor. And
yeah,
you go from a quiz to a physical challenge. Now, you're
yeah,
probably used to it, but actually, that's quite bonkers. It works, but it's bonkers.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And
Um,
those physical challenges are they're so annoying. They're
yeah,
so irritating for the contestants. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So you've got eliminated contestants that come back the following day. And because the format involves nominating your fellow contestants to answer questions, I can see that kind of alliances form between
Yes,
contestants. So has
definitely.
any, I've got to say this very carefully because I have a bit of a, has any rancor spilled out into the green room once the cameras stop?
Well
Has
done.
any of it carried on once the cameras stop rolling between the contestants?
No, do you know what? I think they all enjoyed it so much that that it was all in good. It was all in good spirit. It was all in good intention. Um, but it is quite interesting to watch them sort of having a go at each other in the studio, because that's half the fun of this game, is because
Yeah, yeah.
it is about quizzing, but it's also about, you can be knocked out even if you're brilliant at quizzing. So it's yeah, strategy and alliances do come into play.
Yeah. And I
Yeah.
quite like the way the kind of the contestants don't see the clock counting down. It adds another
No.
level of jeopardy, which is really
Yeah.
enjoyable.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's really stressful. If you've ever done, because I've done a couple of, sort of inverted commas celebrity versions
yeah,
of
yeah,
quizzes in the past on telly, and it's, you watch it and you're going, come on, you must know that, you idiot. But under pressure, it's
yeah,
just horrific. I mean, Mastermind I've done twice, and honestly so stressful. You can feel your heart in your throat, So
yeah.
I have sympathy for the
Yeah,
contestants who
I've
do well under
spoken to a
pressure.
couple of other people who've done Celebrity Mastermind, and I
Mm,
always assume that because it's Celebrity Mastermind, they kind of cut you a bit of slack and you have
mm.
retakes and stuff. But no, they treat you with exactly the same brutality as the normal
Yeah,
contestants.
yeah, and it's incredible. Your brain just shuts down. It shuts down. So
Yeah.
yeah,
So, what was your favourite game show growing up?
easy this one.
Yeah,
It was Bullseye
brilliant. Well, it is
with
brilliant,
Jim
isn't it?
Bowen, because it was just brilliant. Because I love a game show that somebody went darts and questions. It's like,
Yeah.
yes, yes.
You want to be there when they pitched it, don't you?
I mean, darts were very popular in the 80s. It
Yeah,
was a
yeah,
big thing. It was a big, big thing. But you get darts and a quiz. And you're like, absolutely, that'll work. But
yeah,
it ran and ran and ran. And he was brilliant. That's what I loved about it. Jim Bone was just, because he's
yeah,
old school comic. He was an old school comic,
yeah.
working men's clubs. But he was so good with the contestants, because often they were rubbish at both darts and quizzing. So yeah, it was just, and he was so kind to
And
them
the
and so nice.
prizes. I mean,
Yeah.
to go through that humiliation to win a set of towels. I
Oh
mean,
gosh. I mean, some of the prizes you look back. I mean, the other thing I loved about that, the catchphrases, obviously, stay out of the black, into the red, nothing in this game for two in a bed.
yeah.
That is what, 40 years old.
Oh,
That
and everyone knows
catchphrase.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And then look what you could have won.
yeah,
It won. Oh yeah, and Bully Star Prize, and it was always something ridiculous, like a speedboat,
live on, live on
and
the
they lived on the
14th floor.
11th floor of it.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly. And you were like, who was ever going to use that? Oh, I love it. And
So, pandemic permitting, Zoe Lyons, what do we see
yes.
you in next?
Well, fingers crossed. I mean, let's be honest. If everything crossed that lightning gets to strike again, that would be great fun if we could go do some more. Other than that, I am doing the usual sort of rounds of QI and various other TV panel shows, and Radio 4 I pop up on every now and again. But it's sort of it's almost enjoyable this time, in that I found that having less work, as everybody has during this time, you really, really enjoy the bits that you get. You really, really do. And I think there's a lot of comedians I've spoken to as well. We travel a lot doing this job.
Yeah, yeah.
If you're doing live work, you're traveling all the time, and it is exhausting. And there's a lot of comedians I've spoken to just gone, it's quite nice to be in one place for a
Has your
while.
missus enjoyed having you home?
I think that's debatable.
I should ask her that, shouldn't I, really?
Yeah, I think that's probably debatable. Yeah, it's never easy living with a comedian. It isn't. I've been trying to keep myself busy.
So, Zoe, the clock has beaten us. It only remains for me to say to you, Zoe Lyons. I can't believe it, folks. It's Zoe Lyons. Thank you so much for joining us today, and I wish you much love, luck, and happiness for the future. Zoe, thank you so much.
Oh, you're more than welcome, Rob. Absolute pleasure. Lovely to talk to you.